Hey friends, welcome back to Maple and Roots. Thank you for stopping by. It's been a few minutes since I've done a homeschool video. And the reason why is because it's the end of the year, we're wrapping up. I'm really busy working on our portfolio right now, and it's just been a little bit crazy. Our oldest daughter, Lexi, is here right now from school, and we're just really having fun spending time with her. So let's get back to it though. Let's get back to homeschooling, which is what I really like to talk about and what I'm really passionate about. I hope to sit down with her soon and talk about homeschooling and college, because I feel like that's like a really cool and important conversation to have, because that's a lot of questions that we get is like, how do homeschoolers go to college? And like, can you make that transition? So since she's just finished her first year, it'd be a really good time to talk with her. So we're going to do that a little bit later this week. First, though, what I really want to do is talk about some of our favorite books that we did this year, myself and the girls. And I shouldn't say the girls, myself and the girls and Asher, because he's now a learner. It's just so easy for me to say the girls. And I also want to talk about what we're going to be doing for next year, for the 2021. That's a lot to say. School year. I've had questions, like a lot of questions, like, what are you doing? Are you going to use Gather Round? How are things going? Like, what do you have planned? And the truth of the matter is that I am not fully planned for next year yet. And I probably am not going to be finalized with my plan until I have to submit my stuff to the state in August. Okay. So there's that. I am still just a little bit unsure. I have a general idea of what we're doing, but not like a full complete picture yet, which is why I haven't said anything. No, I will share what I do know today, and then I'll make another video a little bit later on to just finalize everything that we're doing. So let's get into that first, and then we'll go into some of our favorite books. For the beginning of next school year, we are going to be continuing our studies in North America. So we just finished up North American birds. We just finished up the Indigenous peoples of Canada, and now we're going to be moving forward. This past year, before I started Gather Round curriculum, I was already doing Indigenous history with my kids. We spent the entire year on North American Indigenous history. I thought that was super important, and I wanted to cover that before going into anything U.S. history. Now, next year we are going into U.S. history. It'll actually be our first time really digging into U.S. history, so I'm very, very excited. And we're kind of already there. We're right now after Columbus, before the Pilgrims, right now in our history. Which we are doing over the summer. So we are getting basically to Pilgrims, and the beginning of the school year, and we'll be moving forward from there. So with that, what we're going to be doing is first we're going to be starting on the North American unit from Gather Round, and that is going to cover a lot of geography and different things about North America, and that I just felt would be like really fitting to go along with our history. If you are new here, we don't use a history curriculum. I put together all of our history curriculum, and I will do another whole video on what I use for history, or what I'm going to be using this next year to teach American history. I'm very passionate about accurate history, and I am very passionate about history in general, that I have yet to find something that really fits our needs for our family. I think the thing that has come the closest is probably the unit from Gather Round, and I am interested when she does release the rest of the history. Or, whoops, just touch my lips up. Anyway, so that's what we'll be doing in the early fall. And with that, or at some point right around election time, we are going to do her mini unit of the U.S. government. What a great year to do that with all this going on in our culture and in our country right now. And of course, with an election coming up, it's really important to start learning about how our government is structured and how we vote and why we vote and all of those different things. So we will be talking about government probably in November, honestly, late October, early November. That's kind of where we're at. And so with our units, that's probably all I know at the moment. I know that sounds really bad. I just can't decide yet. And part of it is because I'm trying to wait and see what she rolls out with before I have to submit our paperwork to the state. And part of it, oh, my kids just got back from their walk. They're all going to try to be quiet. And part of it is because I'm just having a little bit of problems just like taking the next step into what we want to do and trying to like really think about what I want our year to look like and what we want to learn about and what the kids want to learn about. They have mentioned that they do want to do the space unit. They're really excited about that. So I think we'll probably do the space unit probably sometime in January, February. We have a lot of books about space. We have a lot of things that we want to cover for that. And we can you have what? Peach. A peach? Yeah. Oh no, we're all done with peaches. Why? Because you already had a peach. I already had one. You only had one? Yeah. I know, but one peach is probably good for today, don't you think? Yeah. How about a cheese stick? Yeah. Okay. Sorry guys, it's snack time apparently. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing as of right now. Now, the other thing that I do know that we will be done. So I am going to be using the cursive guides that go with each unit for the girls. That's what they're learning this summer, and we're going to keep perfecting their cursive for sure. And it really helps to just slow down and think about what we're writing when we're writing in cursive. So we will definitely be doing that for our cursive. The other thing that I definitely know that we'll be doing is our math, which is of course Life of Fred, because is there anything else? No, there's not for us anyway. So we'll just be continuing going right into our Life of Fred. I cannot even remember what books my kids are in right now, so I will have to update you later with that. But I have most of our books up through high school level, so I don't really have to purchase anything, so I just need to sit down and just plan out what we're going to do and where we're going to go with that. Because I own all of the books that I need for the foreseeable future, I don't really stress about where we're necessarily going to land with that, because I feel like math is something that you don't want to rush on. You really want to make sure your child understands the concepts before you like try to kind of be like, we got to finish this book and we got to finish this book and we got to finish this one to get them to where they need to be. I think that John Holt has a really interesting perspective on math. If you don't know him, he's an author, talks a ton about unschooling. And one thing that he talks about is like not even really starting math until about 8th grade, and that sure they'll be like learning like 2 plus 2, but when you're in 8th grade, you're going to just whiz and build it all and like learn it. That's obviously not, I'm probably not explaining that well, so all you unschoolers, please don't hate on me, okay? That's definitely not what we've done in our household, but it does make sense to me. And in fact, as an adult now, at the age that I am, I probably understand, well, not probably, I understand math way more now than I ever did as a child. And I actually like, oh, I kind of enjoy this, than when I was a child. I really just didn't understand, and I was in the public school and we just kept having to go forward and forward, and I wasn't ready, and it made me very insecure and very anxious. And so it was quite the struggle for me with math. The next thing that I definitely know about what we're going to be doing next year is our Bible. And I mentioned in a previous video is that I don't want our Bible time to be a part of our school time anymore. The next thing that I definitely know what we're going to be doing next year is something that I've put a lot of thought into, and I definitely talked a little bit about in my last video, and that is our Bible. And for me, for our family, my husband and I have been talking a lot about our Bible and that personal time with Jesus, and I am really uncomfortable with making our Bible time a part of our school time. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait, like it's not the whole purpose of why you homeschool and all of those things. So for me, I really want my children to passionately fall in love with Jesus and abiding in his word and reading his word. And I don't want that to be school time. So I don't want it to just be another school item that they check off. Yep, I've learned my nouns today and I learned my Jesus today. That's not how I want my children's view of the Bible to be, or the personal time with Jesus to be, like almost like it's a job, or it's like school, or that it's school. That's not what I'm about. That's not what we're about. So we are actually not doing Bible a part of our homeschooling this next year. Now, will we be talking about maybe church history? Sure, absolutely, especially as we talk about American history, and we're going to be looking at people in America and the Great Awakening, and what God has done in this nation, what God is doing in this nation, and what we would hope to see God to do in this nation, right? Definitely we will be having those conversations for sure. But will we be doing core like core like Bible study in our school time? No, we will not be doing that. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to almost make like a guide, like a reading guide, and all of us in the house are going to be on that reading guide. So my husband, myself, my two older girls here, and my oldest son, who will be 7 this year. So all of us, and we're going to be reading that. So I'm going to help with my younger son, and it's just going to be a small portion of scripture that we're going to read. So we'll all be reading the same passage of scripture every single day. And then after we read that in the evening, after we've had dinner, before we read, because we always read like a novel together, before we do our reading time, we're going to go over that passage that we've just read, and we're going to share our thoughts on it. We're going to talk about the historical culture of the time or the relevance, cross references, and all of that then. So what we're doing is we're teaching our children to have that personal and private time with Jesus. They're going to read the scripture on their own, okay? And then we're going to be coming together and we're going to be talking about it, because one of the things is we don't want to totally abandon our children. Like, here, read your Bible, but we don't teach them how to read the Bible. We don't teach them about just the cultural times or about the original language or anything like that. There, we just kind of expect people to read their Bible, or kids, and just like know what it is, but that's not really accurate. And we've all had to learn how to read our Bible and to study scripture on our own. And this is a way that we're going to be guiding our children with that. And so it's going to be a part of our family devotion time and that personal time that we're all like at the same level. So we're really, really excited about that. One thing that I will be reading to them next year, probably in our morning time, is this. I wanted to get to it this year. This is A Tale of Three Kings, A Study in Brokenness by Gene Edwards. My husband did this for school. I wanted to get to this past year, and I just didn't. So I'm excited about doing that with them, my older girls, that is. And then the other thing that we will be doing is just a little bit. Probably it's going to take us, honestly, maybe a couple of years to get through this. And my oldest daughter, who's now in college, did this, and it is Genesis Finding Our Roots. Again, we attempted to do this year, and I just ended up weeding it out. So I am hoping to do this for sure. It's a really great book, by the way. So that's that. That's Bible. That's what we're doing. One of the Bibles that we really love is this Adventure Bible. The girls, it has like a lot of great notes in it and questions and things like that. So we definitely utilize this. Okay, so I just checked the camera. Moving on to our favorites this year. My family is very loud. They're like literally going in and out, because when I film, that means, hi, we're going to go in and out of the house the whole time and slam doors. So anyway, that's a side note. So one book that I really loved this year, this was one of my favorites, was this poetry book. This is Poetry Reader Volume 1 from Cottage Press Classics. I actually won this on Instagram, and it has Burns, Tennyson, Herbert, and Shakespeare in it. We did not get through this whole book, and I'm going to tell you why. This poetry in this book, Burns and Tennyson and Herbert, it's intensive, and the language is obviously very different than today's language, right? So we really took our time going through this, chewing through it, reading it over and over and over again until we really began to understand. And when I say we, I mean we, because I didn't grow up reading poetry, and it's not something that I'm super familiar with. So it was definitely learning for me. So when we're learning about these particular authors, and then the language that they spoke and how they spoke it, and the meaning of sometimes different words and all of those things, we really wanted to take our time and chew through it. So we would do this in our morning time, sometimes reading the same poem over and over again for a couple of weeks, sometimes going back to it, whatever. We will be picking this up again going forward into the next school year. And honestly, I can see us in this for a couple of years, very honestly, because it is a lot. Even though it's a very little book, it's a lot. I love it. I thought it was so beautifully and well put together. Really, really, really nice, and definitely learned a lot about these poets that I didn't know before. Okay, moving on to the next one, and I have a pile here, and then I have some books that we did on Kindle as well that I can't physically show you. Adeline's favorite book that we did this past year was Island of the Blue Dolphin. She loved that book. She was really, really into that book. She is my nature animal lover, so learning about all of the skills and the animals in that, she just really connected well with that book. Really, really loved it. highly recommend it. It's a great book, especially for these young girls. They really connected with that character and loved that book. We did read the second one, which is called Zia. I don't think that they loved it as much. They were not as into it as the first one. So obviously personal preference. Next up for Adeline's favorite book that she read, or that we read together, was The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spears. This was my copy. You can see I wrote my name on it. When I was in, I think, 7th grade, I was in private school and I read this. And it had been a long time since I read this. And looking back, would I have done this at ages 10, 11, and 8? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's a really beautiful book, and they did end up loving it. It just was it's a little bit of a slow start, I think, to really getting captivated with the story. And I think some of the concepts are a little bit above, but they definitely loved it. And I think probably when Adeline is in like 8th or 9th grade and Lila is in like 5th or 6th or 7th, 6th or 7th, then we might pick it back up and do it again. And maybe Asher will be younger at that point, and we'll do that with him. And definitely a beautiful book. Love this book. I mean, classic. I actually have made it a personal goal for this year is to read all of Elizabeth George Spears' books, because I haven't and I want to. I want to read, what's it called, The Calico Captive, because that is based on a true story and actually happened very close to where we live. So I thought that would be really great. Okay, clearly we have had a location change, and that is because in my last video, my eyelash fell off. And I really didn't think that you wanted to see another 10 minutes of filming with an eyelash hanging off. Moral of the story is, don't use magnetic eyelashes because they are just not worth it. That's the moral. Okay, so we're going to get back into it. I think I left off, on The Witch of Blackbird Pond. I was saying, and I don't know, so I guess I'll have to go back and edit this, is that I'm hoping to read all of Elizabeth George Spears' work this year. I particularly want to read The Calico Captive because that takes place somewhat near where we live. So I thought that'd be a really good thing. I do want to pre-read that before I share it with my girls, just to make sure. There's a couple of things in it, like possibly a child like conceived after they were kidnapped. So I really need to pre-read it, obviously. So that's that. Adeline really enjoyed this, Witch of Blackbird Pond. When I asked Lila what her favorite was, she definitely said her favorite this past year was The Island of the Blue Dolphin. She also liked a book called Turn Homeward, Hannah Lee, I think. I don't even know the author. I will link it below when I find it. Because I actually had to toss the book because it was falling apart. And that's one of the things when you get used books, is that sometimes you have to toss them when they fall apart because they are so well loved. And that's okay. I will still continue to buy used books. But she really, really, really enjoyed that book. She just kind of dove into it and was into it very much, read it, I think, in just a few days. So that was Lila's favorite this year. Another couple of favorites that Lila did, she did this biography on Helen Keller. This is by Margaret Davidson. It's got the cute, like little, not cute, but the braille on the back, which Lila really enjoyed. Adeline did this one a couple of years and she liked it as well. It's a pretty informative book. It's a very, very short and easy read. Obviously Helen Keller's life is a little bit heavy, but Lila very, very much enjoyed it. So it was a good little read. I know that there's other biographies out there of Helen Keller as well. And then with Asher, he chose, or actually I chose, because he didn't even remember reading it earlier this year. This is a classic. Obviously, this is kind of dirty, but this is very, very old. This was published, I don't know when. I guess I could look. It doesn't have a year. Anyway, this is obviously a very early edition of Thornton Burgess Animal Stories, probably maybe from the 60s. I was actually expecting beautiful, beautiful artwork. Instead, we have this. My parents actually, like a couple years ago when I went to their house, they were like, hey, check out this box of books, and this was in it. And I was like, this is gold. You don't even understand. Like, this is gold. So we've read a ton of Thornton Burgess little animal stories, all the books. And so I did this one with Asher this year, and he really enjoyed it. It is perfect for those young guys just starting your formal education, or your little ones, your little preschoolers, because it's small stories and you can kind of pick it up and just read one small story and put it down, and then, you know, the next day go to the next. Also with Asher, I did a bear called Paddington. I had actually never read this before, so it was really nice to read. We really enjoyed it. In fact, when he saw me pull out yesterday, he was like, Mama, it's our book. We did that book together. So this is now our book, mine and Asher's. Very, very, very sweet. Perfect for a 6-year-old. Perfect. Really good read. In fact, I had never really read individually a chapter book to Asher before. He's done our family read-alouds with us, but I've never like sat down just with him and done one. We've always just done picture books, and so this was a very good introductory book that him and I could read together. I don't even know if we would do a full chapter, just a couple of pages. You have to build that, right? It's a skill to learn to like listen to a chapter book. So don't rush it, and enjoy those picture books while you can, and then slowly go into these beautiful, rich living books. Another book that we did throughout. Okay. I'm having all sorts of problems because my camera keeps falling on me. My eyelashes fall off. I feel like this doesn't happen to other people. This is just me. This is just, like, if you know me, I'm a little extra in general, and it's just me. So another book that we did was Animal Camouflage, A Closer Look. This is by Joyce Pausk. I am butchering that. I just know it. And this is really beautiful because it talks all about, wow, talks all about animals that camouflage. It had a lot of birds in it, so we did do it during our North American Birds unit with Gather Round, and the kids love this. They love talking about camouflage, like, and the artwork is just beautiful. And I'm pretty sure I picked this up like at a yard sale or free books or something like that many years ago. So we were really excited to dig into it. And when I was like, hey, what was the book you guys loved this year? It was this one. And then lastly that I wanted to share is My Side of the Mountain. This is obviously a classic, although I had never read it before. My kiddos loved this book. And it was just really fascinating that this teenage boy would go and move and live in a tree, you know, on a mountain, and the story. We have a friend who has a, I don't know what's going on in my voice right now. We have a friend who is like an OG homesteader. Like, he is older and he built his house and cut down milled all the logs and everything. And so when we're reading it, we're like, oh my goodness, this is the story of his childhood. But really beautiful book. Loved it. I think it was really good. Even my little guys were really into it. Like, we would sit and read it before we would go on together, and they just really adored it. So those are just some highlighted books that we did this year. We read many books, like a ton of books, probably the most that we've done in any year. So that was very exciting. And it's really fun, like, going through our bookshelf and just checking them off and writing them down, and like seeing all that we have read and accomplished this year. Love this part of the year. I love doing that because it's easy to sometimes forget like what we've done throughout, like, 9 months, right? And then you start going back and be like, oh, remember this book, oh, remember this project, oh, remember when we learned about this, or when we looked up this. I really definitely enjoy this part of homeschooling. So that is it for today, or for the past 2 days, because take 2. And I really am looking forward to this next year. I'm looking forward to really digging in deeper and studying about North America, studying North American history. Really looking forward to all the living books that I have been saving and on my bookshelves for years, waiting for this. So we are really excited. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe now. Subscribing supports our family. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like videos like this and if you want to see more of them. Okay. And also ring the bell for notifications of all my future uploads. And follow me on Instagram at Maple and Roots, where sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. Depends on how I feel. I'm butchering this today. This is something. Maybe I need to stick to, I don't know what, my lash falling off. That was a far better video. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer and are staying safe and enjoying the beautiful sunshine. Bye, guys.